According to my Ghanaian brothers. Am I good?
Yes, yes, yeah. Hello. Can't hear myself.
Can you hear
I
yourself?
can hear the music, but I can't hear myself.
Huh?
I can hear the music, but I can't hear myself.
No, can I give you my knife? You can hear the music, it's good, man. We're good, right? 3, 2, 1. All right, good morning and welcome to the Sports Buffet on ELEGBETETVRADIO TV radio. Sorry, we're coming behind schedule by 6 minutes. We just needed to put a few things in place. When people win things, when they say come to the studio on your own, the studio is very far. But when they have something to pick up, it's like when you're going to embassy to go do visa interview, people are never late, or when you have a flight, especially international flight to catch, people hardly miss their flight. That's exactly what just happened. I would have loved to kind of studio, but it's too far. But when you say come and pick up something, oh Lord have mercy, they are on top of the world. They would come even earlier than the Pope, and that's exactly who we got in the studio today. But we'll talk about him later. One very, very, very disrespectful boy in the past. But he's here. It doesn't mean we won't talk about him. Like you guys, I told you guys I don't know how to forgive, right? But he just won that jersey. When he won it, I didn't want to give him, but it's not mine, so it's not mine to take back. So I have to give to him. But then our producer is Kalejaya Ahmed, don't forget that. And we've got the man today's Tuesday, so it's not my show, it's Emmanuel Sebastian's show. Emmanuel Sebastian, the strong man, we're still raising fund for Emmanuel Sebastian. In case you guys don't know, he's homeless right now. He's one of the many homeless Nigerians. His house got burnt. His entire family house got burnt, and not just him and his family are homeless. We're not joking about it. It's a serious matter, but this is who I am. I like to play with pains. Kevin had to say I'm laughing at my pains. So let's hit the show running. You're still able to see us live on see me live, not us, see me live because this camera is not rotatable, from the YouTube channel as well as on Facebook. We're not doing Instagram today. But then Emmanuel Sebastian is your show. Let's hit the ground running.
All right, good morning to you and to everyone who's tuning in today. Like you rightly say, my name is Emmanuel Sebastian, but you can call me Manny. It is another beautiful Tuesday morning on the Sport Buffet, and we have someone with us in the studio. But like I said, we'll talk about him later. And it's good to see. It's good to see him. It's been on with me, ever since. How do I get here? But he's here finally. So let's get in on the show properly. I mean, I'm still in the when you played that, you're talking about the coming out of there. You got me in the Super Bowl mood yesterday. I mean, I was watching the halftime show yesterday, and
that was wow. Good. I watched that thing live, and I was like, when would we get here? This is if I watch sports, the first thing that crosses my mind is the economic value.
Yeah.
The game itself, games, whether it's football, whether it's NFL, whatever it is, doesn't really freak me anymore. Like I've gotten past that place now. But I look at it like, okay, just winning this thing first, the LA Rams get 550 million. There's going to be extra bonuses that will come from sponsors and the rest of them. And that is their home ground, right? So there's also extra. But then the organizers, the whole experience, the whole thing that comes together to make the Super Bowl what it is. Where would we get there? Let's even try just the FA Cup first. And then maybe the African Cup of Nations, just to find out, just one event and see how good we can. And please don't tell me that we can't do that. I seen a church, just one church, House on the Rock, put up an event called The Experience. And I've seen other people do some stuff. I've seen Obi Kubana turn a barrier into a carnival. So it's not like we can't do it if we put our minds to do it, okay? It's just that there is just that thing about us that making us not want to thrive within the space of excellence. But I just thought that one day we'll get there anyway. And I saw the Sporting Lagos over the weekend. If that's a sign to come,
I hope they keep
then all the things that I've been saying since are not in vain. Okay, I'm not laboring in vain. Seems like things like the wheel is changing. And the reports that Ahmed Kalejai is giving to me about the edifice in Ikene, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it. Ikene Remasters. I've not been there, but I trust the eyes and the thought of our producer, Ahmed Kalejai, for all of the things he said about the facilities, what they've got there, how it works at the hotel facility, the stadium, everything. I think we're getting there. That the change that we're crying for, we're beginning to see it spring up. It's just that because the bad is too much, we seem to ignore the change that we're crying for. But I think that this is going to happen. Then there's Ikorodu. There's one new team that have.
United, yeah.
No, it's not Ikorodu United. Ikorodu City.
Ikorodu
So there's
City,
United, like Manchester United.
Ikorodu City, yeah.
And it seems like Ikorodu City have come to like change or correct the mistake of Ikorodu United. Well, we'll see how I go anyway.
And
Well, I mean,
they take on Van Dresden on Friday, I think. So it's one game I would like to go watch as well in the NL.
Our producer says he's going there too.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a game I would like
so
to
the two of you will collide.
So, all right. So I was talking about Sporting Lagos. It was good to see. I was supposed to be there, but due to one or two reasons, I couldn't be there. But aside from the pitch, with the state of the Testing Balogun pitch now, it's not really looking good. But the way they branded the stadium, sponsors that were around, even the pavilion that we all walked through, the way they made it look nice, the ambience around.
I think they should concession that stadium to a group of teams. Maybe for the next, say, 100 years or 50 years or 20 years. Let's give it a 20 years trial. Concession it and say, okay, take the stadium, maintain it, do whatever you want to do, and just give us this token every month. You can bring in your own staff. You can fire every of the stadium staff if they are not doing their job well. If you want to retain them, it's your business. But for the next 20 years, this is your stadium. Control the car park, control everything, make money out of it, and then give us this amount every month or every week or every quarter. Depends on the negotiation.
All right, so let's get in on the show properly. Now, one of the biggest news regarding Nigerian football this past week was the approval by FIFA for Ademola Lookman to be able to represent Nigeria. Now, I'm one person who is not too excited about this switch. Not because I don't like to play Ademola Lookman. I don't see what he brings, that much compared to the current crop of wingers we have at the moment. But I mean, he's finally been approved after such a very long time. We saw NFF release a statement trying to say, give thumbs up to FIFA for that swift approval. Now, Ademola Lookman, Ghana is next for the Super Eagles. I won't look at him for Ghana. I won't call him up for the Ghana games.
He's coming for Ghana. Let me just douse your fears.
Because I'm not too excited or too right about the switch. He's a good player, no doubt. He doesn't have much numbers. We've talked about wingers on the show a lot. How you emphasize on wingers putting on crosses.
Because it's where I played.
Crosses and all that. But it's not that kind of a winger. And maybe what's your take on Ademola Lookman, what it brings to the Super Eagles before we go into other parts of the discourse?
You've asked me a question about Ademola Lookman some 2 weeks before we went to Cameroon, and I told you that I'm not fascinated about him. His play is not that one. When you were asking me if they approve his nationality switch, now would I be excited that one player is coming to join the team? I don't think so. He's not a Victor Moses. He's not. It's same of the same with Moses Simon. Then his game also does not have the consistency that makes me go, oh, super gaga. If this wasn't a World Cup year, I am certain that Ademola Lookman will not switch to Nigeria. It's a World Cup year, and there is no way. Yes, he's an under-21 World Cup winner in 2013. That's where it ends. But there is no way on God's planet Earth Ademola Lookman will be on Gary Southgate's training team, not to talk about the team going to Russia. So he knows that his only chance, if he doesn't make it to this World Cup, he doesn't even know if Nigeria is going to qualify for 2026 first. And then at the same time, he doesn't know England will never call him anymore. Okay, I don't know what form he's going to exhibit. So what we're getting is actually the leftovers, the ones that nobody took. And sometimes the ones that nobody took can become the renegades. They can make up their mind and say, okay, let's prove to these people what they missed, what they lost in not taking it. But I don't think Ademola Lookman have gotten to that point where we'll get excited. It was like the same thing I said about Emmanuel Dennis, and people misconstrue what I said. I said that Emmanuel Dennis was just in a space of good form. That's not him. We've not seen that kind of performance ever. And just immediately after I turned us down, Emmanuel Dennis has not even hit the bar since then. So, it goes back again to show what I said. You don't just invite a player to the national team because he plays maybe 1 or 2, 3 good games for his club, and then you say, oh, this is the guy that we need. Because he's switching to Nigeria, let's give him a chance. Okay? We are also not a world superstar team that have too many superstars. But they say too many hands on the pot destroys the bonds, okay? So there's going to be a problem where we might damage the team just because we want to give everybody a chance. Everybody begins to feel like, oh, because some people already feel like we suffer to get this qualification to this point. That's, Like what happened with Stephen Keshi, 2013 team won the Nations Cup, and then he went to the World Cup and bring in people who bought shit. Nobody's going to come. They said I'm speaking of the dead, but you still speak the truth. Shall I not be paid to be in that team? Nobody's going to come here and tell me a story that is different. Or they were there, maybe always giving his best for the national team, but he didn't want to go to the Nations Cup. What changed between the Nations Cup and the World Cup? It was because of the World Cup here. We went to the World Cup, we got to random 16 years, fine. But we could have made more progress if we had kept the team that won the Nations Cup in 2013. But nobody would ever know. Nobody would ever know about that. Now, so for Ademola Lookman is a young player. That's the only plus. He's a young player. If he's open to learning, 24. If he's open to learning, okay, he would be able to improve and set his game and grow. But one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of Nigerian players, and let me stay with Nigerians, is that Nigerian players don't improve. Once they get to 24, 25, whatever it is they have done at that stage is what they will do till they get to 30. Hardly do you see a Nigerian player improve in the way they play, in their style of play, that their game begin to go from good to better, from better to great. We don't have that in our DNA right now. What we have is the size of our contract. Once my contract means that I can buy the house of my dream, I can live in the same neighborhood, I can hang out with people like AY, I can hang out with basketball, I can hang out with Funny Bone, those top comedians I will watch every day, we see on YouTube, then I am satisfied. I'm at the peak of my powers. I don't need to improve anymore. Whereas, you see other players, look at Bukayo Saka 2 seasons ago and what he is today, and there is still room for improvement. Look at Raheem Sterling that was at Liverpool and the Raheem Sterling that plays for Man City. They are two polar miles apart. They are two different players. We don't have that. You can't say that of Ahmed Musa that, oh, this was what Ahmed Musa was at so time. This is what he became later on. Maybe you could say that of Ojo Igalo. You could say that of Onazi. But the difference, the transformation is not really big. What is good about a player like Ojo Igalo is the sustained consistency of scoring goals everywhere he's gone. Yeah. But, I mean, there are some things you say, this is lacking in this guy's game. He's not putting there. Okay, he's answered me with scoring with his head, but it's also not a consistent in any way. But you look at some of the players that we have. Let me give you a very good example. Victor Osimhen's got potentials to be like Erling Haaland. He's got a potential to be like Mbappe. But he may, underline this word may, and don't forget, I love Victor Osimhen. So it's not like, oh, this guy doesn't like him. It's beside. No, I love Victor Osimhen. It's got a potential to be as great as those guys. But he may never get there because there is this thing that, in the words of John C. Maxwell, the Nigerian players have a cup mentality. Even though they have the potential of a river, but they carry the cup mentality. So they don't give out much. They just give to the size of the cup. So there is this thing in football where you say, okay, I need to improve this. I need to improve that. Who do I need? Do I need to get a strength and conditioning coach? Like at some point, Cristiano Ronaldo realized that, okay, I'm 28, 27 going to 28, and my game is different. I'm not going to be as athletic as I used to be. I need a strength and conditioning coach that can make me run within short spaces. He went to get Francis Ebekulu, the former Nigerian guy who ran for Portugal. Yeah. And that guy became his strength and conditioning coach because it was his area of strength. And we saw what Cristiano Ronaldo became in that space of time that Francis Ebekulu has been working with him. So the other people do the same thing. Lionel Messi, for instance, had to change his food. He doesn't eat the same thing every day. Like 4 days to match time, he changes what he eats because what he needs most is more of vitamins and protein to be able to sustain his game. And it's not a guy who will run for 90 minutes. He might disappear for the whole maybe 40 minutes. At 5 minutes, he shows you something and he will deliver in those 5 minutes. He had to discover himself and find the way he can function at maximum level. We don't have those kind of things with our players. It's not like they are not putting it up. It's just that they are not doing it. So we need to have that mentality of saying, okay, I want to improve this area of my game. I want to make my crosses. When I touch the ball, I want to put deft touches to the ball. If you go back and read that Olise's book, The Audacity to Refuse, you will notice Olise explaining how he learned a lot of things. Olise started his career as an attacking midfielder, even when he was playing for Julius Berger. But when he went to Europe, they wanted to play as a defensive midfielder, even as a center defender. He had to learn his game. He had to adapt his game. And he also had to remember that, okay, one of the things that I love about football is creating goals. That's the reason why he played the same span of time with Okocha in the national team from 93 to 2002 before Okocha continued. But the funny thing is, within that space, He created more assists than Okocha, and he's a defensive midfielder. Okocha was a creative midfielder. One of the reasons why I always tell people that I don't think Okocha is as good as people want to rate him. If an attacking midfielder that you are, you're not creating as much as a player who does not even have the license to cross the middle of the field. It means that that guy is way, way better than you. Now, I'm not saying this because I want to rubbish any player, but I'm just using this as my analogy, my basis for analogy. So if Ademola Lookman comes in and say, okay, first of all, when you go into a team, the first thing you do as a footballer is you look at the people playing in your position and ask yourself, what am I bringing different that will make me upstage the guys that are there? So let's put them head to head. Ademola Lookman is not better than Moses Simon. And this is going to be shocking to a lot of people who say I'm always attacking Moses Simon. As bad as Moses Simon is in my eyes, Ademola Lookman cannot lace his shoe. If the two of them fight for jersey a million times, Ademola Lookman will come second a million times based on what we have seen of them so far. Club performance and national team performance. Is the fans' favorite, is a good player, but he's not great. What the Super Eagles need to move to the next level is great. He doesn't have that greatness right now. Ademola Lookman cannot even put that guy on the bench. Let's go to the right-hand side. Samuel Chukwueze, I cannot understand what Samuel Chukwueze's problem is. The fact is, Samuel Chukwueze is coming back from a long-term injury that he's not experienced before. Nobody's taught him how to deal with that kind of injury. So he can't come back and find his mojo overnight. But when Samuel Chukwueze finds his mojo, he would still put Ademola Lookman on the bench. Now, it's a battle between him and Chudera. The thing with Chudera is Chudera does have more versatility than Ademola Lookman. Again, we cannot get all this excited because what we now have is one more body to make a squad. Because let's break the team down into selection for the World Cup. Let's say we qualify for the World Cup hypothetically. All these wide men that we have a lot of, it's because Etebo was not available. What's it called? Leon Balogun was not available. We didn't replace with a defender. We just got in one more wide man. And then Igalo and Osimhen were not available. So if you bring in, say Osimhen is ready for the World Cup. Igalo say he's going to go to the World Cup, right? Those guys would any day, anytime make it almost impossible for those wide men to be available. And if push comes to shove, we want to drop a player, Ademola Lookman is that guy that you would drop. So I'm not excited like you, but if he's agreed to play for Nigeria, the only plus is that it now brings competition to somebody like Moses Simon, because like it or not, competition makes people do better. Once a player feels like, hey, I'm the numero uno, that's why Aubameyang became what he was at Arsenal. There's no competition for me. Nobody's going to shake me. Even if I don't train, even if I don't do anything, I'll sleep. Man City is always winning because everybody knows that even Zinchenko will come in and displace you. Even, what's that guy in front? Foden will come in and displace you. So every chance you get to perform. Mahrez cannot. We saw Mahrez play for Algeria at the Nations Cup. It was pedestrian. He went back to Man City. We saw him working hard, not because he gives more to Man City than Algeria, just that at Algeria, whether he sleeps or he doesn't train, he would start. At Man City, the very slight sign that he's not giving his best, like we saw of Grealish, he's going to go to the bench and people will forget whether he's playing for that team. So competition is good to bring the best out of them. But when it comes to selection, I don't even think that his choice to play for Nigeria will make him make the World Cup team. I don't know. But it was good yesterday that, 2 days ago, Iguavon landed in England and left Nigeria in the company of Dayo Enebi, the team administrator, landed in England, had a meeting. Had a meeting with some guys yesterday. Another meeting scheduled for 2 p.m. today. I've got my camera crew with them, so running around. Okay. Yeah, we had to. We're doing this film, so the film is the film. There's not. You can't spare any expense anymore. We're already on it, so we've got a crew of 3, shadowing them everywhere they go. They hope to see Ademola Lookman somewhere within this week or probably next week, and I also go see see a few other players and all that. But it's a good one that we have a player that will bring in competition in training. If now he comes and he not does something that is good enough for him to make the team, why not? That's the coach's call. But my opinion is that he's not going to be a player. For now, he's not a player that is better than Moses Simon. But between now and the World Cup, if he shows something that makes him better, well, good luck for him.
All right, Ademola Lookman joins the likes of former England youth international who played for Nigeria. You talked about Shola Amobi. He got caps for England youth international before playing for the Super Eagles.
Ruben Agbola.
A lot of
Abe George,
Alex Iwobiola, Sonia Aluko, even Victor Moses as well.
And these
are guys who got caps for England B team before eventually switching their allegiance to Nigeria. And still on Ademola Lookman, he's a winger. you've emphasized so much on wingers. That how you go to the line and you pull crosses. But myself and the producer, we're having a conversation of wingers. Do you see much of wingers putting crosses today? Is this something that is I don't know, maybe old fashioned? Because most of the wingers you see today want to cut inside, shoot, dribble, just find a way, get on the score sheet. How do you see wingers trying to drift wide and pull crosses in? It's really a football game. So is this something you still use to rate wingers currently in football, crosses and all that? I think it's
okay. So
the game has changed. Wingers want to cut in, score, get goals in their game, compared to going to the ball and putting crosses for players.
The game have changed, but the interpretation have not changed. So if you're a wide man, you're a wide man. Your job is first. Your primary assignment is to create assists.
So swing fullbacks now coming forward to
I'm going there. That's just where I want to Peter towards. Trent Alexander-Arnold, 150 goal scoring chances created. He's a fullback, but let's not make it look like it's a new thing. That was what Cafu, Roberto Carlos, Ashley Cole, and the rest of them was doing. Lauren Etememea was doing back in the day. The Neville brothers, even before the Neville brothers, Manchester United, Frank and Ronald de Boer. These things are not like the way people make it look like because of television and social media. There is a new thing. It's not. It's not. For those of us who, there are football players, there are football reporters, and then there are students of football. I pride myself as a student of the game. People have done this like in forever, in eternity, okay? And it is not something new. Carlos Alberto Pereira in the 70s was the guy who gets on the side, run forward, bump forward, and cross in the ball. He's a fullback. So it's not really new. Andres Bremen is a left fullback for Germany, creates a lot of chances and goals in the 90s. So when we say this, Paulo Maldini was playing first as a left back before he became a centre back, it was the same thing. It's just that in the age of social media and this age where people bump statistics all up in your face, they make it look like it's something new. But even at that time, anybody who's on the wide side is required to bring in crosses. Now, inverted players came in with the arrival of Thierry Henry, and wingers became strikers. Thierry Henry, Victor Ikpeba, and all of them have wanted to come on. They all trained under Arsene Wenger. And it became something different. You start looking at center forward strikers like Andrei Shevchenko or Lewandowski of today, looking like they don't know how to play football. Like, oh, you're just standing in the middle, or Ruud van Nistelrooy. But then that's also a unique part of it. But let me judge wingers based on what our coaches play, no matter how you look at it. So Austin Eguavoen is old school, and his primary tactics is 4-4-2. Let nobody deceive you. His system predicts that your wide men bring in crosses. If you look at the team, all of a sudden we now have more 6-foot-plus players in the team. It's not by accident. Yeah. This man is playing Clement Vestergaard's script. Go back to Clement Vestergaard. His players were all 6-foot-plus. Apart from Chidiwanu and Benny Roa, the rest of them, and then Okocha, who wasn't really a regular under Vestergaard. All the other guys were 6-foot-plus. Iguavon, Keshi, Uche Okechukwu. You have to be a giant to play for the national team. Sonny said, as young as he was tall, and Rashidi Yakini, Anadabola Mokashi, Samson Yeboe Siasia, Elastic Elao, all of these guys, Finidi George, were big men, you understand? And that's exactly what he plays. If you look at the team, we have Zaidu Sanusi at the back, left full back. We have Ola, a right full back. Center back, you have Trustekong. Okay, let's go with the Nations Cup now. Let's leave Leon Balogun out of this. Trustekong and Kenneth Romero, all 6-foot players. And then you go Semi Ajayi, another one that is taller than them. And then you come to the middle, Wilfred Ndidi, and then Joe Aribo. Those are 2 players. Then you have, it's the 4-4-2 or 4-2-4. So you have the wide man, what's his name? Moses Simon on this side, Chukwueze on this side, and then you have the 8 and 9, which is old school. That system, not too many people play it anymore. Very few people, maybe Crystal Palace, Ray Hodgson, very few coaches play a 4-4-2 or 4-2-4 because every 4-4-2 is also a 4-2-4. Depends on when you're attacking is a 4-2-4, when you're defending is a 4-4-2. So very few coaches play that system, but it's still effective if you have the players. And look at the guys at the middle. Kelechi Iheanacho, 6-foot-plus. The real guy who's supposed to be there, Victor Osimhen, 6-foot-plus. Even Taiwan that you brought in, even though after the Egypt game, he got lost in transit a little bit until the end of the tournament, but still a giant. What is the intention? The intention is I've got players who are lampposts already. Whip in the crosses to them, let them do what they know how to do. And look at almost all the goals we scored at the Nations Cup. I'm not saying go to the byline, you must cross the ball over the head, but it's either a cut back, it's either a pass from the side, because that's how the team is programmed. The same reason why Tunisia beats Nigeria. Because Tunisia, what they just do, they mount an arm barricade on the side. They just put a confederation flag on the side and say, no, you're not going this place. This is a no-flight zone. You can't come in through this place. And then we couldn't reinvent ourselves. When we now reinvented ourselves in the second half to 3-5-2, we almost got the goals through. Again, on the bench, who came in is a player that is over 6 foot, Sadiq Kumar. So if you look at the team is programmed to receive crosses from wide areas. It is not the wide area men to do the job. It's like a normal military setup where your strikers are like your guerrilla force, your men that goes forward. Your white players are your snipers. So they are watching, they are helping you to take your cover. They take out your position by bringing crosses for you, and then you put it in the net. So Iguavan will most likely play. I'm not going to do analysis on the general form of what football is today, but I'm going to say this is the coach we have. When we had Ganatro, even though he was playing the 4-3-3 most of the time, it still requires your wide men bringing in the crosses for Victor Osimhen. Just that Victor Osimhen didn't have a counter forward like in the Kelechi Iheanacho mode, to play his counter forward. But in this situation, we have a counter forward to the striker who, does all the running around within the perimeters of the box or the 18-yard box to enable space for the center forward. Anyhow you want to judge it, we are playing with wide men. So if you're a wide man, I'm going to judge you by your crosses. I can't judge you if you're going to cut in. If you want to prove me wrong and cut in, then score the goals. How many goals did Moses Simon score during the AFCON? 1 or 2, right? One. Then how many goals did Chukwueze score? 0. So he scored 1 goal. He scored 1 goal. So if you look at it, you cannot convince me that their job is to cut in and score when they are not putting in more goals. Look at Cameroon. The reason why 2 players in Cameroon one score 8 goals, the other one score 5 goals, Okambe and Abubakar, was because the wide men were functioning. Whether it's the fullback who's bumping forward or the 2 wide guys. That was why I was wondering the team of the tournament that they picked, and they didn't put any of those guys who were bumping the crosses into the 18-yard box, causing the opposition defenders to commit fouls and bring penalty, and those goals that were scored. It was strange to me because if you're picking players and you're not picking the guys who created this massive number, 13 goals between 2 players and the other player, then there's a problem with the selection. Well, that's a topic for another day. We'll deal with that one. We've moved on. I think that I'll judge our white players basically on the amount of goals they're able to produce. If you now score, it's an added advantage. It's like saying I should judge a defender for the goals he score, but forget about the goals that they concede. No, I'm not going to do that. That's not your job. Your job is a defender. If you're playing as a wide man, the primary reason why you're there is to bring in the crosses, help the strikers to score. Now, if you're so good in helping the strikers to score that you now go from that one to also now score goals, plus, fantastic. Robbie Perez was a wide man. His job is to assist Henry and then his backhand to score goals. But then he scored a lot of goals for Arsenal. But he's a wide man. His job is to create goals for the team first. That's his primary responsibility. If you now say you can add more, it's like Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah. Can he defend? Yes. If he was going forward creating goals, but every time they attack Liverpool through that wing, they go to score Liverpool, do you think he will still be playing for them? Nobody will talk about the fact that he was helping to create goals. Everybody will say, oh, this guy can't defend to save his life. Just like Wan-Bissaka. Very good defender, but can't help going forward. So now he's being judged for something that is not necessarily his position, but because of the evolution of the game. So primarily what the white man needs to do is to please provide goals for the striker. And if he's not doing that provision, and every time he even gets the ball and makes the crosses and he's flying over everybody to go hit Twitter bed, I'm going to judge you based on that.
All right. So Adeba Lukman, you might listen to this one way or the other, but it's a good company, in the national team. Teammates, club teammates, Kelechi Iheanacho and Wilfred Ndidi are there to keep him company. He put out a statement that he can't wait to put on the shirt for the Super Eagles, that he's happy that finally he's been cleared. So we wait for that official debut for Ademola Lookman. We don't know if he's going to make the team for the game against Ghana. Because
I can bet my life that he will be selected.
I don't think he will, but we wait to see that. I don't think he will, but we wait to see that, and hopefully, he gives a wonderful performance.
I'll put a wager with you that he will be invited. Will he play? I don't know, but he will be invited.
Anyway, let's wait to see.
Will you be in Abuja?
I don't
most
know.
likely.
I don't know.
Okay, so before we go to the next talking point, let's take some comment from Facebook and as well as the YouTube. Iken Ambora, our mommy of the station, say blessed morning to you too. Joseph Robert Ruben, he say morning boss, good morning to you. And on YouTube, I mean it's got a lot of them. Eze Patrick say morning boss, good morning to you. And then he went on to say Chooks, good morning. That friendship that have been built on this platform is a good one. Money Martins say morning boss. Chooks Pascal say good morning, my brother. Good to be here once again. And then Eze Patrick went on. He said even the great Mikel Obi was stagnant for years, just doing okay to stay in the team. Son of Oba Bedi, he said, bros, I like people that speak true like you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Eze Patrick, he said, I don't think Lookman will be dropped for the World Cup. Well, let's wait and see when we start making the selection. Patrick Eze, he said, the advancing fullbacks rule was present in the past, but now it is a trend in various teams. Every fullback must be creative and attacking. Back then, a fullback could be forgiven for being a good defender. I agree with you on that one. Eze Patrick says, Coach Austin plays like Benitez in 2009. Okay, this Liverpool guy will always find a way to squeeze Liverpool into the conversation, but I like it. He plays like Rafa Benitez in 2009 when we had Peter Crouch in the team. Just that we didn't have good enough crosses coming in. And son of Bob Benin went on to say, bros, talk about Calvin Bassey. I think the person that knows more about Calvin Bassey is the guy sitting opposite me here, Emmanuel Sebastian. And, the Nations Cup didn't do Calvin Bassey a good job, okay? If Calvin Bassey comes into that team, he's going to be a backup. Because for all I can remember, 4 games we played at the African Cup of Nations, Olaina made only one mistake. Zaidu Sanusi did not make any mistake. It is hard for you to drop those 2 people. People that have guaranteed shirts to the World Cup already when we qualify. And I use the word when because I don't want to use the if. I don't want to jinx it, okay? My money, my investment is on this thing, having teams, people traveling around, jumping on plane, going to England and running around the coaches like leeches means I really want them to win at all cost, okay? But we don't need to do illegalities. Now, those 2 guys show that they can be reliable, they can be depended on. Kenneth Tamera also had a good Nations Cup. Only 1 or twice it was shaky. So if we get the midfield side of it right, because that goal that we considered against Tunisia, if we go past the whole blame Maduka thing, we could also blame the midfield because they were invisible. They all went to sleep for that to happen. And then we were not pressing high enough on the player that hold the ball to score. That's a conversation for another day. But I think those fullbacks did themselves very well. Calvin Bassey, would he make this team right now? I've not seen him play for Nigeria. And most times I struggle to use your club form to judge your national team because most players have done great for club. Peter AJ, Michael Biku, Richard Owobukiri. In the history of this country's football, I've seen players come do very well at their club level, scoring 20, 25, 30 goals, but then they come to the national team, they can't even trap the ball, and they struggle. So I don't want that to be the basis upon which I judge it. Everybody is in Scotland, in Glasgow Rangers are doing well, but coming to play for the national team is a different one. There are people who have already established themselves, but I don't know if Emmanuel has something to say about Calvin Bassey.
Talking about Calvin Bassey, it has something that we don't have in the national team. He's left-footed, and he can play that left centre-back role. For Rangers, he's played over 20 games this season. He started 20 games from the start, and we are 26 games into the league season. So, and these 20 games, he's played over half of them as a centre-back. He can also play as a fullback, and he's put out some good performances, apart from 1 or 2 errors here and there. But we don't have a natural left-footed centre-back in the national team. When he was called up to that CR game, a lot of people were disappointed that he wasn't capped, that we might lose him to another country. I don't see us losing him, but getting into this team, I just feel he has something that we don't have. That natural left foot for a centre back, and he can do a decent job at fullback as well. Talking about Zaidu, he's been brilliant. Whenever he's been called upon, but I think Calvin Bassey is one player that can come in and maybe take a clean ball.
So let's bubble the ball a little bit around the outsiders for the Super Eagles now. Calvin Bassey, Desas, Emmanuel Dennis, Kevin Akpoguma, all of this. Who have the likeliest chance? And then there's this goalkeeper.
Sebastian Osigwe.
Yeah, Sebastian Osigwe. Which of these 5 have the cleanest, and the closest pathway to make it into the national team going into the World Cup?
I think that Pogba is not far off. He's been there. I don't know why he was dropped for the AFCON, but I think he's not far off. He's put out some good performances for Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga. He's one defender who scored goals as well. Pop it in the box, put some headers in, and I think he's not far off. So he's and looking at the defenders we have, they're not young anymore. Balogun is over 30, Omero is over 30. These are guys. Ekong hasn't been that consistent. He's not been in the Watford team for the past 3 games now. I don't know what's happening. The last game wasn't in the squad, and I don't know if Ross fancies him or not. But Ekong has been here and there. So I think Kevin Akpoguma might just be the closest for me to break into that team. And who are the other players again? Emmanuel Dennis is one player I thought might get in for the World Cup if he kept up his form. But I don't know why he gets a lot of cards. I don't know, for a fourth player, he's commits a lot of fouls, yellow cards here and there. I don't know why he's that kind of I don't want to say rough, but he's always on the on the referee's book and all that, gets cards here and there. So, but his form has dipped. I don't know if the fact that it wasn't the fact that Watford didn't allow him to turn up for the national team, there's talks here and there. That was Watford, it was wanting to turn up. But ever since the AFCON debacle, he's been off form for Watford, not putting up good performances. Even though he's the only Nigerian.
If you're a fly on the wall, do you think that he would be sitting at home and be regretting, why didn't I go to the Nations Cup?
I think that regret might be there. Will be there. I think that regret will be there. It's a major tournament. Every player, and looking at how the Super Eagles played in the group stages, the whole talk was around the team, the whole fun, fanfare, aside the fact that we got knocked out embarrassingly in the round of 16. So I think the regret will be there for Emmanuel Dennis. And he's one player I felt that might have a look in again, for the World Cup qualifiers, but his form hasn't been it since the whole AFCON debacle. So I'll still stick with Kevin Akpoguma as the closest that might just get the call back to the national team. Looking at ahead of the World Cup qualifiers.
So Dessas, you don't think Dessas has
Dessas is we have a lot of forward options. We have a lot, and for Dessas, I think he's done a good job since going out on loan to Feyenoord. He wasn't getting the playing time for Genk due to the wonderful form of Paul Pogba, who is back on the goal scoring again for Genk in that forward position. So Dessas has done well. He's moving on loan to Feyenoord, getting goals. He's developed as a clutch player. Coming off the bench to score crucial goals. He's done it not once, not twice, over 3 times for Feyenoord in the league. And when they need a goal, they just bring him up from the bench. He delivers, get that goal. So I think at some point, the owner of Genk, the football director, was been checking Dessas as a player to come replace Onacho if eventually that move for Onacho happens. So he's still the player for Genk. He's alone at Feyenoord, so he might just be the replacement for Onacho. But I don't think the amount of options we have at that 4 positions. I just don't know.
The man whose jersey we're giving away to this young man who's wearing glass, trying to look like a nice guy, but we know he's not.
Awoni is part of it. He will still be part of the team.
I want to ask you this question: do you think that Awoni did himself good at the Nations Cup? Like, be holistic. Forget whether I give jersey to give away. Now let's analyze this thing. Do you think, on the strength of his performance at the Nations Cup, he did himself enough to take claim to that jersey? Because let's put it this way, that 2 more strikers are going to come to that team. Mm-hmm. And the way it is, Sadiq Umar did a whole lot of good for himself. He did a whole lot of good because he grew in the tournament. Even the blind can see that. The Taiwo Awoni did enough to convince you, leave the coaches or the other people now, to convince you that he deserved to go to the World Cup when we qualify over Ghana.
I really don't think so. Well, if you ask me, I think in terms of energy. I was looking at the stats from Football Ref yesterday on Victor Osimhen, the amount of times he presses his opposition in that game against Inter Milan and over the course of last season. In terms of that, that's hassling of defenders, not giving the defenders time on the ball. I think he's the closest we've got. We saw that in the games at the AFCON. But, we all want to see goals. We all want to see, what you put out at the end of the day. It's the numbers. The game today is about numbers. And the goal he scored, you might want to discredit that goal, maybe a fluke goal, or a goal is a goal. But I don't think he did enough to take a clean moving forward. For maybe the occasion was bigger than him. You haven't played for the Super Eagles before. Your first game was in a crucial World Cup qualifier against Cape Verde in Nigeria, where he came on, he missed a couple of chances.
3 chances.
The pressure was, and now you get a full competitive debut in the major tournament like the AFCON. So maybe the occasion was bigger than him, but I didn't think he did enough to stake a claim. But if you ask me, it's the closest we've got to Victor Osimhen. Looking at the striking options we've got.
I think he's gonna make the World Cup team when we qualify, and all this is predicated on we qualifying for the World Cup. But then let me bring in our guest into the conversation. You kind of like got lucky and won Taiwanese jersey, right? You are, what's your name again? Talk the way you tweet. The way your tweet is rude. You're rude like that on the microphone.
Yeah, my name is Raji Moshe.
Okay, so you've been on my tail for a while for my days in Brilla. You won this jersey, and at some point you felt like maybe the jersey has come. We don't want to give it to you. That's like, shut up. I saw your tweet. And talk to me about Taiwan winning. As a Nigerian football fan, so you're not an analyst now. As a football fan, because let's get the pulse of the fan, because we analysts sometimes could be just biased. Let's get the pulse of a fan. As a fan, they call the team list for the World Cup, 23 man going to the World Cup. Taiwan Wani is there on that squad. And maybe one of the strikers that you think should make it is not there. What would be your reaction?
If he doesn't make the World Cup.
No, if he make the World Cup team.
Fantastic. I think Taiwan only getting a place in the national team would be a fantastic job. Just getting on the plane to Qatar, I think he will be a sport player, obviously. Because from the get-go, his career has always been a guy who takes the second chance. When this little opportunity comes, Taiwan only always grab that opportunity from him. His time at under 17 level, at the under 23, he was never the go-to guy. He was just a second choice striker, and most times he used those opportunities well. And seeing him in this Nations Cup, I think he was not ready to be the anchor man for us, but the occasion was big. I think he did well. Coming from the fact that this is just his first tournament, and I think he will make the.
So let me reverse it now. They call out the list and it's not there. God forbid, but it's not there.
I'm very, very disappointed. Because this is actually his second season playing football, like at his club level, consistent football. All the other times he will just be on loan, not playing. So this is the time that his performance, his numbers for club has been good. Because there are some players that will do well at club side, but once they get that national team call up, they are never at their best. So by virtue of his club performance, I think he deserves to be on the team.
Manuel, over to you.
How much of the time do we need for a national team player? What's the we see players that they play 1 or 2 games. There's no time with the national team. If you get your chance, use it. If you get your chance, make sure you use it. But I want that player that would say he wasn't given much time because he was a starter at the AFCON. He's played a couple of games. Is there enough time for us to see what he can do with the national team? That's been that's one of the major things.
So I think that the engine of the national team going into the AFCON, there was too much baggages, too much drama. Players were not even sure. There was so much uncertainty around the team. It was going to throw that brought in Awoniyi to this national team. The coach that was now brought in to go to the Nations Cup was mentioned as interim. He's the football director. It's not the coach. While they were preparing the 10 days that they had to prepare for the Nations Cup, there was a certain Pesero that was going on somewhere there and some other names that have been mentioned. As a player, you get a little bit distracted. You don't even know that most of these players went to the Nations Cup because the squad was not big enough. We didn't. Do you know one thing that Nigerians didn't notice was Nigeria is the only country that didn't drop a single player. Everybody that came to camp went to the Nations Cup. So it wasn't really battle royale like qualification. We're fighting for shirt. We came in we could die today. We actually begged the ragtag team to go to the Nations Cup. So on that one, based on your question of time, I think that there was not enough time for this team to really get together, get in the shindig and fight for jerseys. Everybody just came in like they're expendable, like mercenaries. Like, guys, let's just go and do this, okay? But going to the World Cup is going to be a different kettle of fish. They will have minimum 2 weeks to prepare. You have a team of close to 40 put together, and then everybody will come fight for that shit. And then the coach will sit back. Also, you can't even say that you can judge this team fairly and squarely, because a Guava on his own was every day he goes to training. The next day he's thinking from his house that I'm not sure I'm going to be the one in the training tomorrow, man. And then remember, we had 12 players in camp for a very long time before we had full team players, even when the captain of the team was somewhere watching games and, jumping around. We've all forgotten that because the 3 first group games were fantastic. Nigerians were, clapping their hands, waiting for the team to be defeated in the group stage, and then we unleash our venom on everybody that, Guava is a bad coach. We all knew that. Ahmed Musa, but that didn't happen. So on that front, I think that the only thing missing for Taiwo Awoniyi's game was the goals. Other than that, is against Egypt, I could tell you that one of the reasons why Egypt didn't beat us. Look at every other game that Egypt played after Nigeria. They won because there was nobody harassing their defense line.
Yeah.
Even in the finals, the semi-finals against Cameroon, if you notice, as good as Ekambi and Abubakar, they were always dropping back. They were always playing with this mindset of, now let Salah be free. Nigeria didn't play with Salah in mind. Nigeria played the game with, I guess that was the only game we really prepared for. Every other game we just went there with the arrogance of Nigeria. We prepared for that game that, look, listen, the way Egypt play, they build up from the back. The defenders take the ball to the midfielders, and midfielders take it wide to Salah or create chances for Salah to go and score, because if you give Salah freedom in your box, he would kill you. So Nigeria made sure that the game was very, very compact. They used the whole length of the field at the same time. But Taiwo Awoniyi was multiplying himself like 4 in 1 at every given time. So Egypt didn't have that time to really settle at the back. And once that game plan, they say in football, when I was playing football, coaches will tell you that if you manage to disrupt the game plan of the opposition, you have already won the game even before the game started. Because for as long as they can't settle into their game plan, it's always going to be difficult. And when you have one player, that's why when Barcelona had Messi in his heyday, no matter your strategy, is hard because Messi alone eliminates 4 of your players. So you're already playing 4-man down before the game starts. What kind of strategy can I give you an additional 4 men? What Awoniyi did against Egypt was eliminate at least 3 players at a given time. Like they can't settle into their stride, they can't run. This energy was too much. So that was a plus for the team. When we went into the Sudan and the Guinea game, let's just regular these guys. If we beat Egypt, then we can beat these people. And we did do that. Maybe we carry that attitude again into the Tunisia game. Like, if we can beat a whole Egypt, we'll beat Tunisia. And then you have COVID. 12 of the players have COVID. We didn't know who had the COVID, but we just know they say 12. Whether it's 12 players who would never ever play for the team, or, we didn't know that. And then we also didn't realize that they have backup players that they could call. When it happened, it was too late. Before we decided to get back into the game, it was too late. So talking about time, I think that Taiwo Awoniyi has really not had the time a player needs to settle into a team, because the attitude of going to save a burning house is different from the attitude of going into a house where there is party. So I think that going to the World Cup, when we qualify, because we have Ghana, and let's not pretend or feel so big that Ghana is not important. Ghana is very, very important. They are a big team, and we must treat them as such. Treat them tougher than the way we treat Egypt. And then hopefully we'll qualify. When we qualify, I think it's the thing is the World Cup is in November. So I'm cracking my head and I'm saying, so the season starts in August. At what point would FIFA say, okay, give them a break? At what point would the European League say, okay, let's get this break and let this team go? Or we're going to have the same situation with the Nations Cup, but because European teams are also going to go to the World Cup, maybe the conversation will be different. So if we have 2 weeks, say 15 days leading to the World Cup before you pick your team and you drop the ones you want to drop, believe me, it's gonna be beautiful. I think it's gonna be different. The coach will see burst of pace, commitment, work. Everybody would work hard. It's a coach that had that headache of having 40 players in camp and having to pick 23 and then tell 17 hasta la vista, go and watch the World Cup from the television or from your club training base. Either ways, but I think that time we cannot judge that. I can't judge any player in the team, but one player that really impressed me at the Nations Cup at the AFCON was Rumours. Also the fullbacks, and Zaidu Sanusi impressed me a lot. I can't speak much of Kenneth Emerua because people are like, oh, you like him already. That's not, he can never do wrong with you. And Wilfred did also impress me a whole lot. Jaribu, yes, above average, and then the rest of them. But I think that the funny thing, one player that might get dropped and people will be surprised, how did that happen? It's Kelechi Iheanacho. That people will be surprised that how did that happen? But he's the only 8 in the team. Okay, he's the only 8. He's the only forward player that have left foot too. That's good. But if he doesn't get his game up, you understand, his game consistently up, it might just be one of that player that they drop. And people will be surprised, but that's a possibility.
All right, talking about Barcelona, 10 goals in the La Liga Smart Bank so far this season. Almeria are looking on course to get promoted. They were so close last time out, and they're looking on course to get automatic promotion into the La Liga this season and for next season. Now let's switch agendas. Now let's talk about female players. Rashida Ajibade, 4th consecutive brace this past weekend, doing so well for Atletico Madrid, the women's team. But Aziza Oshua, she capped 100 appearances for Barcelona. She was injured at some point, but she came back and she continued from where she left off. Goals upon goals, 100 appearances, 79 goals. Now look at the goals at the compared to the number of appearances. Now the question is, she's done it on the African scene, Women's Football of the Year several times. She's won laurels, African Women's Cup of Nations. She's won the Champions League with Barcelona, putting out numbers, spectacular numbers, goals, assists. She's won the league, she's won the cup with Barcelona. Now the big question is, what does she needs to do to win the Ballon d'Or? The women's Ballon d'Or. She hasn't been in the conversation. Alexia Putellas won the last one in the last 3 years. It wasn't done in 2020 due to COVID. But what does she needs to do to be in the Ballon d'Or conversations? I mean, she's won trophies, for national team, for club. She scores a lot of goals. What does she needs to do to be in the Ballon d'Or conversation?
So Asisa Oshoala is one of those players that you see she came late to the party. That's the only thing you can describe her with, because she's the all-time greatest woman footballer to come from Africa.
True.
There's nobody on her league. When we talk about Africa, there's nobody on Asisa Oshoala's league. First off, look at the clubs that she's played for. You won't believe that this girl has played for Arsenal ladies, she's played for Liverpool ladies,
yeah.
She's gone to China and came back and 100 games in Barcelona, already won the league and in an unbeaten season, won the Champions League, done all these things that she's done. But it also coincided with the time where women football in Europe is having huge investment. Megan Rapinoe's campaign for equality have forced huge investment in women football. And if you notice, even the Brazilian, the South American women, they are now like tuning down a bit because they can't match up the investment that you have in Europe again. So countries
they're not in the conversation.
Yeah, they used to be like them, US, and then maybe Norway. But now you see France, you see England, to the point where you have TV shows talking about women football in England. And I keep telling my friends, every time I have a conversation with my media friends across Europe channel, I say, you guys are coming and you want to dominate the women football way more than you've even done with the men. You see the Arsenal ladies, the Man City ladies, Manchester United just joined the rank of having women team. It tells you that the investment and the focus is high. What Asisa Oshoala does not have, and that's another thing that will count against her, is that there's no age on her side. 1. 2, there is no media on her side. So the 73 or 79 goals that she scored in the 100 games looks like 7 goals because there is really no hype around her. People will say, what does hype got to do with football? It's got everything to do with football. You must need people that are hyping you. Even in music, back in the day, you're a good singer, you just go on stage and you sing. Nobody's hyping you. But today, there's a hype man making noise, even though sometimes it can be disgusting and annoying, but it is what this generation like. People need to be shooting your numbers. People need to be deliberately putting your numbers and forcing it in the faces and minds of people. It's called subliminal marketing, right? Because when the time for the voting comes, if there are not enough people popping your numbers, some of the people who vote don't even know who they are voting for. I've got to be honest, because I've been on a panel voting for people before. And some names that are nominated, I don't have enough information about them as I have about some other person. And that just sway my vote. So if I remember I was in a panel and Onuachu and some other guys were nominated, I did vote for Onuachu. Even though Onuachu, eventually I found out I had more goals than the person I voted for, but I've never, had the time to see those. And it doesn't really do me well that I'm saying it, but it's just the truth. So you need, and if that can happen to me, it can happen to any other person. So you need to be able to have people that are pushing your numbers. Over the course of the time as well, she's not turned out to be like the best player in her team. When she gets momentum was when she got injured. By the time she comes back, somebody else was also firing on all cylinders. And that Barcelona team that went on to win the league and they unbeaten and they won the Champions League had like two or three players ahead of Asisa Oshoala. And then you compare with the Lyon team and then the girls from Norway. You start putting yourself in the position, and then those Arsenal players, you start putting yourself in the position that, okay, if she's not number one in her team, why are we going to make her number one in the world? But cumulatively, all of these guys, maybe they just come to perform, all of these ladies, they just come to perform maybe 2 seasons and then they are excellent. Another 2 seasons. But cumulatively over the last 10 years, I don't think there's anybody, not just in Africa now, anybody in the world that have the kind of consistency and the kind of numbers that Asisa Oshoala have. But unfortunately, she's not in the Australia of her career. right? She's winding down, and it's very, very painful because I think that Asisa Oshola is one footballer that, like, I love everything about her, her brand, her person, her game. Like, I feel bad if she doesn't win anything. They nominate her, she doesn't win. I get very, very crazy about it. But I think she's winding down. Maybe Rasheedat Ajibade is the one that will come and pick that trophy. But let's be very honest. Rasheedat is another player that I love a lot. But Rasheedat Ajibade is not, even though they are product of FC Robo, and FC Robo deserve a lot of credit for giving us some great players like the Ofoma Babes of old, the Laris Angel became Rivers Angels of old, or the Omidoron Babes and the rest of them. But I don't think that you can put Rasheedat Ajibade and Asisat Oshola on the same basket.
Yeah, for now.
You can't. Maybe she would up again because she's a competitive beast. She's that girl that wants to win every time. So if she keep upping her game and put some consistency, just maybe she will move from Atletico Madrid, go to a bigger club like Lyon or like Man City or FC Barcelona, and then we can have her in that conversation. But Asisat Oshola, for her to maybe win that, get that conversation of the Ballon d'Or, she needs to, like, maybe this season that she's playing now, she needs to be numero uno, supremo, number one. Nobody is on her level. Then we'll have that conversation. If not, it's winding down, and it's really sad because Africa have never seen a player like her. Africa have never had anything close. Name any footballer. We've not had anything close. Messi Akinde was great. Magui was fantastic. Love Day. Mavizogo. What's it called? This Kikelomo Ajayi. Perpetual Quacha. Perpetual Quacha was not really exceptional, but she just scored goals. Okay, she was actually a kind of person. She just scored goals. But Asisat Oshola is everything. She's the embodiment of everything. If you want somebody on social media space, she's the girl. If you want somebody who scores goals, she's the girl. If you want somebody who will represent your brand, she's a fine person. She's the girl. She's everything in one. She's a total package. Okay. Sometimes I put a brand way above some of the male players. If you put Asisat Oshola here and you put Paul Pogba here, I'll take Asisat Oshola's brand. If you want somebody to represent my company and I'm signing the check, I'm going to sign the check for Asisat Oshola ahead of Paul Pogba, Simi Wankwo, a lot of the male players. So she's that kind of person that when I have the conversation, I will always call her. But on the global scale, you have to be able to dominate in such a way that people in South America know you, because these are people that will vote. People in South America, people in North America, people in Australia, they talking your name every day. But she doesn't have that media push that puts her there. Especially, remember, a couple of seasons ago when they were voting for African Footballer of the Year, all of the representatives that came from Nigeria did not vote at number one. Perpetual Quacha, Osaso Bayuana, Chisom Bonu, and one other person all said that
I remember
they were being objective.
I remember.
Voted for somebody who didn't even come second. We're being objective. So those are some of the little things that draw you back. When even your own people don't think that they don't rate you right. So those things really do count against you at the end of the day.
She looks on course for the next one though, so I was surprised.
That's African Footballer.
Yeah,
it's nobody in the ladder now.
If she doesn't win it, it's something else. But she looks.
They should change the award to Asisat Oshola's image. That's what I think. You've got something to say?
Yeah, I think concerning the fact that our global dominance is going with the time that the Super Falcons form is breaking down.
Yeah, that's another thing.
If you have gone to the Olympics and she lit up the tournament, our chance with her being the superior numero uno, it will be with the Super Falcons. If we have done well at the last World Cup and the next World Cup, it could help our brand sales more and push her for that Ballon d'Or kind of award.
Yeah, that's the part I never thought about, and that's fact. Because at the national team, when it comes to the global stage, the team does not really do well.
On the African stage, we are.
And then if you look at Africa too, the national level, other African teams are also catching up with us now. So we're doing fair, let my people go. Some people still talk about the Aisha Buhari tournament, even though that's a friendly tournament. But the people who won, they don't see it as friendly. We beat Nigeria. That's the way they see it. We beat Nigeria with Ajibade Babalade, with Asisat Oshola in the team. That's what they say. In Lagos, in their own country. So nobody says it's a friendly game. Who cares? Okay.
All right. Talking about the Falcons, they take on the Lady Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire for the final round of the African Women's Cup of Nations qualifiers, and we hope they'll play in Abuja as well. So we hope three times tested that stadium. I think the Falcons played there, Super Falcons will be playing there, and then the Super Eagles will be playing there. So I just hope the pitch will be able to last these 3 games and look in good shape for those 3 games. It's over an hour on the show. And
let's hand over the jersey, and I think you're the one that will do the honors because it's all you.
All right, if I tell you what the whole back and forth for this.
No, you have to tell him. It's not if you tell him because it was feeling like I got the jersey and I'm.
At some point I was thinking, this guy that won it might be wondering where's this jersey, and I mean, it took a lot of back and forth for this to finally arrive in Nigeria. And credit to Taiwo Awoniyi, he's always been in touch. How far, this and that. Okay, I was speaking to custom in Germany. I was speaking to this, and he's always been there for this. And finally, we arrived at the post office here in Nigeria. So I'll be giving this to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This Union Berlin's home jersey for the 2021-2022 season. So as you can see, it's Awoniyi number 14 written on the back. So credit to Taiwo Awoniyi for sending this all the way from Germany to Nigeria, and congratulations to you for getting this jersey.
And special thank you to
No, the person you need to thank is Taiwo Awoniyi, not me. Don't get me involved in this one. So say your appreciation to Taiwo Awoniyi.
a very big thank you to Taiwo Awoniyi and FC Union Berlin. I'm wishing you guys the very best for the rest of the season.
What team do you support again? Chelsea, right? Chelsea versus Union Berlin. Who do you support?
Union Berlin.
No, I'm just asking. Union Berlin.
Straight up.
Oh, Chelsea fans will kill you now. See, this video will come out. This video must come out. So Chelsea fans see how you betrayed them.
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
All right, we've come to the end of the show. Don't forget the Nigeria Players GPS show will be coming up next, and a lot happened this past weekend.
But before I go, Emmanuel, let me read these messages before they cut my neck. Okay, Johnny Kafase Bassi has had some shaky moments as centre back in Rangers. I don't think he's ready now. Daribayono Joe said, "Good morning, great analysis. Keep it up. You always make my morning better. Watching from Roman Empire, Italy. I'll be coming to Italy very soon. Son of Oba of Benin, he said, Bros, I live in Germany. I watch Kevin Akpoguma week in, week out. That guy is better than William Troost Ekong." Okay, thank you very much for that one. Very, very good one you just said now. Because, should I say this now? Okay, something about the dad, Kevin Akpoguma's dad. Let's not say it. Okay, Ugochukwu Iriogwe said, "Good morning, Mr. ELEGBETE." He said, very true. Iheanacho has to get his first touch right. That is the greatest flaw in his game. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Sebastian. Thank you, Raji Moshud, aka Raji Raju, for coming in on the show, and plenty of appreciation to Taiwo Awoniyi for going through all of that stress to get this jersey across. And the Boston is up next again with the Nigerian Players GPS show. And I know on that show, Taiwo Awoniyi will still be in the conversation, whether you like it or not. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for being on the show today. And thanks to our producer, Emmanuel S. Ahmed Kalejaye. Ahmed Kalejaye for being the guy who make it happen for us. God bless you, man.
This is radio like you never heard before. ELEGBETE TV Radio, the best in entertainment and sport. So make me tell you about ELEGBETE TV Radio, entertainment, news and sports. Make me tell you about ELEGBETE TV Radio. Yes, you're listening to ELEGBETE TV Radio. Don't touch that dial. You touch it, and make it laugh. You're listening to ELEGBETE TV and Radio.
Obanya Williams.
Is that?
No shout to us, no shaking.
This is radio like you never heard before. ELEGBETE
No, someone
TV Radio.